What's the sexiest non-sexual thing someone has ever said to you? My wife. Every time we eat at a restaurant. Oh God. You'll have to finish my food. I will. My love. I will. Went to an audiologist to get my hearing tested. The doc was the same age as myself and asked why I was there because almost all of her patients were either infants and geriatrics. Either way, there ending up being a lot of flirting during the appointment, and she checked my ears before the test. So I have always had bad earwax build up my entire life and doctors always comment on it. So she said she would clear it out for me before the test. I was always used to the lame hot water squirt that doctors do in the past to try and clear it up. So she came to me with a scalpel and I asked, "Oh, you're not going to do the squirty thing?" And she looked at me proudly and said, "No. I am going to cut out the wax. I am not squirter." And then she looked at me after realizing what she said and turned bright red. I chuckled and reassured her I understood what she was saying. The whole thing was hilarious and cute at the same time. There's this girl at work that is always ragging on me. Like friendly banter. You know, little jabs here and there. And one day I asked her, "Why are you always so mean to me?" And her eyes lit up and she gave me the warmest smile and said, "Because I ducking hate you." Popped a half chub on the spot. You look like someone who would fall in love with me very quickly. I wasn't that interested in the girl before she said that. But the mix of cheeky and confident really did it for me. I was working in Hungary with a hot college professor. Listening her explain chemistry to me in that sexy accent and cute lab coat really got me going. I was a 911 dispatcher for 10 years. While on the midnight shift for years I taught myself Spanish because we had the occasional Hispanic caller and I wanted to be bilingual. We had a Hispanic man, who was clearly scared, come to the station to pick up his brother who was being released for a DWI. I was called to the next room to speak to him about his brother's court date and what he was arrested for. While I was speaking to him in Spanish, I looked over at my dispatcher partner, who I had a crush on, who was watching our conversation from the open window that joined our two rooms. As our conversation paused for a moment, I looked over at her and she had her mouth open almost in disbelief. She looked at me and said, "That is so ducking hot." She didn't realize I could speak Spanish and told me later that she thought it was very noble that I was learning it to help people in our community. Never got with her though, sad face. When I was finished setting everything up for our Star Wars marathon, my girlfriend gave me a funny look and said, "This is where the fun begins." Not to me, but one of my teachers told this boy in my class to stop banging on the desk, or "I'll bang you." I almost died trying not to laugh. If a woman calls sir in any context, you better believe my mind has melted all over the inside of my skull. Once my GF screamed "Duck you" at me in the middle of a fight. I responded, "OH. You wish you could." We proceeded to have angry make-up sex. I also learned that response works exactly once. In a lecture hall with 200 seats, most of them empty, a girl comes and sits next to me and says it is going to be a fun semester. You might have to help me study from time to time. Then gives me a cute smile. I was hot for this wonderful gal and invited her on a docent-led hike in a nature preserve. Wonderful time. Towards the end of the hike, climbing out of a canyon on an old fire trail, the main docent fell ill and couldn't continue. I offered to get my 4x4 truck and drive it back down the trail. She joined me and we hustled up to the truck a couple miles away. At some point I said, "We're on a mission." She gave me a mischievous look and replied, "I think we'd do missions well together." God. I wanted to jump her right there. Seems there's more interest in this than I expected. Met this gal in a drumming class. A class of all women and me. Winky face. I'm 50. Divorced 3 years after 15 plus years of marriage. So I started flirting with these women. And Mission Gal flirted with me strongly. With her I got to use texting and sexting for the first time as a romancing tool. She loved it. We'd made out a few times by the time of the hike. And never consummated. She loved the flirting and the attention but was hooked up with another. After a couple of months I directed my efforts on another gal in the class. Much better choice in many ways. So it all worked out. The mission gal got my flirting chops in better form. The night I met my husband, it was hotter than Hades out and I'd been on the dance floor for hours. I commented to my friend about how sweaty I was. He overheard and said, "You're not sweaty. You're glowing. I really don't drip sweat. My skin just gets dewy, while everyone else is melting." It sparked the conversation that led to 18 years, so far, of marriage. The other day my boyfriend said I love having dinner in the park because I really like the sound of children playing. My ovaries exploded. My girlfriend and I were hanging out with her friend who is a lesbian. My girlfriend hugged me and went, "You smell good. Here, smell him." So her lesbian friend leaned over and smelled me and said, You smell like such a boy, I love it." Don't know why, but I felt pretty cool. I took my girlfriend on a date at Steak and Shake. I'm a broke college student. We got our shakes and she said to me, "Do you want to take my cherry?" Once someone asked me if I was from the West Coast because they told me I had a West Coast vibe. I spent the rest of the day wondering if this is what it was like to have someone come onto you. Well, if you're spending that much money on an engagement ring, it's only fair I buy you an engagement computer. Both the marriage and the gaming PC going strong 5 years later. Edit. Read this as funniest thing. Not sexiest. Already upvoted. I guess I'll leave it. This isn't good. Faisant he blew. We've been outsmarted by a hallway. It was true. We were in an underground mall with a 3-armed swastika-esque intersection. And even though we tried all the options before doubling back to our starting point, we still couldn't figure out how to get where we were going. We laughed for a good 30 seconds when we realized it was true. The hallway beat us. Then we swallowed our pride and asked for directions. It turns out we had to go up to the surface, cross the street, and down into an adjacent underground mall. A girl walked up to me while I was a barista and said, "I'm gonna be ballsy. Can I have your number?" Then gave me a little devilish grin. Black hair, green eyes. My ovaries almost exploded. I am dude. I always find it sexy when someone is talking about something they're really passionate about. Whatever it may be. Like, yes, you go my dude. Having passions and interests is such an attractive feature to me. When I was in high school, the middle-aged male lady referred to me as one fine-looking vanilla brother. I'm not sure why I was so flattered. Second date, we were sitting on the couch watching a movie and I was asking about her jewelry. Like, who gave you this, or is this sentimental? Her necklace hung low on her chest and after a few minutes she seductively whispered, "Would you do something for me? Please touch my necklace again." I like when you speak German, you make it not sound like you'd erase a race from existence. FYI. I made some mac and cheese and left some in the fridge if you want. My husband and I work opposite shifts. He left for work and texted me that. When I woke up later and read it, my reply was, "That may be the sexiest thing you've ever said to me." It was raining heavily. I had just entered the lift to my office and held the door for my friend who came running. She closed her umbrella and said, "Up I'm fully dry but down I'm totally wet." It was hard to keep a poker face. My soul will occasionally turn to me and say, "You smell like you did when the first time I kissed you," and then smile and walk away. We've been together for a long time. So I think that the fact he remembers exactly what I smelled like on our first date is the biggest turn on for me. In the middle of cuddling, my girlfriend said in the most satisfied voice I have ever heard, "You make me feel safe." I instantly felt like a demigod and wanted to buy her something. Probably a ring.